Most of the time when I sit down against Riptide, I think to myself, well, there's a good chance I'm going to have to fatigue the big green boy. After all, it is a solid strategy against him, since he basically punishes you for playing, you counter and just come in with single unmodified attacks until all his arrows are gone. And that's why his new arrow, Intoxicating Shot, is such freaking brilliant design. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando, and go again, a fabulous cast. Thanks for checking in here on, is it Fab Friday? I think it is, because it's been quite the week of spoilers. We've been going through all the expansion slot cards, showcasing the proverbial bone that they're throwing each class and or hero, I suppose, in bright lights. But the card that has stuck out to me, not necessarily in power level, but certainly in awesome design, at least out of the gate, is this guy, Intoxicating Shot. So this is an arrow for Riptide, right? So it's a blue 0/4, right? So you look at that and you're like, holy shnikes. Well, Riptide spec, but when this hits a hero, they create a courage and a quicken token, right? So it's kind of like the best of both worlds, right? You're throwing a way, way, way above curve arrow, but they get a benefit from it. Kind of. I mean, they certainly get the benefit from it, but potentially so does Riptide, right? Because again, let's remember what Riptide's traps look like, right? We have the bonus traps, right? The +1 traps, your boulders, whatever, right? We have the attack reaction traps, not necessarily relevant here. We also have the go again traps, your frailties, and so on. So obviously the ones we're showing here also translate into his arc of blues. While we are talking about his arc of blue traps, I do want to point out this one's not legendary. So you can run 3 of these. I think probably not by accident. I mean, LSS doesn't do a whole bunch of stuff like that by accident. But you could have assumed in the arc that maybe this was a carryover or something like this. This would have been legendary. It is not, right? Run 3 of these or 2 of these as it may be. I still think Riptide's better in Blitz, right? Just with the way, again, if you have specs you can only run 1 of, right? It just makes sense in Blitz that you have a better advantage of doing that. So that tracks. But that's my opinion. That said, I think the data backs it up, but we're getting off track, all right? So this thing is, I am really impressed with the design of this. What better embodies Fab than the statement of push-pull, right? We've had all these talks about Flesh and Blood not being a card game. It's a fighting game. It's obviously a card game, but it's a fighting game, right? Push-pull, right? How much am I going to take in order to hit harder? That's the fundamentals of this game, and isn't that exactly what this is doing? Do I block? Do I throw cards from hand, which will potentially disrupt my next strategy? Or do I take the hit and then get bonuses, which will help me, but then potentially help Riptide as well? This is just absolutely phenomenal design. And I'm fanboying out on it. I'm very impressed with this. I didn't see something like this coming. And the fact that it's blue, right? I mean, think about it. It could have been a red 0/5 effectively, but it's not. For him, it works great especially because he kind of needs it. It fits the theme. It's perfect. But to my point, it could have been a 0/5 red and done the same thing. We probably would have thought, that's playable. I think we could have thought that. It just feels so much better. So much better. Now, to be fair, he generally only needs yellows. But blues are better, right? Because especially again in Blitz, where yes, you have sideboarding, but it's a little more limited. Heck, even in CC, it's limited. Either way. All right, so what I want to do now is kind of talk about its spot in Riptide. And to do that, we're going to throw up, so SS Jedi and I, Steven and I, we worked, this was his deck, and then going into Skirmish Season 7, we worked a lot on his deck. We got some beers and worked on it and iterated it. And he was kind enough to share the deck with us. So that is what is across the screen right now. Now, again, this is what he was running into Skirmish Season 7. The takeaway where I'm driving at here is, where does this fit in? Okay, now the obvious thing to do, which I've highlighted here, is well, let's put it in some blue slots, swap it out for some blue slots. I actually think that it probably makes sense if you are running like defense reaction traps specifically. I think it probably swaps in those slots. Now, the exception being in Blitz, you cannot take out Frailty Trap, right? Frailty Trap is an absolute Kassai killer. She, at least as per Skirmish Season 7, was the best or the most winningest hero in the format. I think most people right now would grant it's Chane, but you know who else has go again is Chane. So, you know, I don't think you mess with that whole thing, right? So that you're not going to take that one out, and that's why I'm saying you'd lean into your defense reaction traps if you're running them. I think that's where this one really fits in, right? Stuff like Blood Rot Trap and such like that. I think it makes perfect sense to run this in those slots. That said, I mean, direct swapping for blues is not a bad call. You know, in the again, I'll throw it up again. In this case, he was running Infecting Shot. Blue seems like a good swap, right? Seems like an absolutely decent swap into that. Obviously, the toxicity, and in this particular case, the toxicity is almost certainly what we would do. But again, I know a lot of people aren't running that and have something else in that slot. So again, you can kind of see where I'm driving at there is, you know, this thing is setting up your other traps for success, and it specifically isn't setting up a certain type of trap for success. So it makes sense to, if you are running those, to really swap, I think, to swap this out for that and just kind of go all in effectively on the pump and the go again type traps. It just seems to make sense to me. So anyway, like I said, I just kind of wanted to fanboy out over this. I think this is this super strong? Is this going to change much for Riptide? I don't think so. I just think that in the grand scheme of Flesh and Blood design, this was an absolute home run. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be out there and claiming that this card is broken. I don't think anybody's going to claim it's underpowered. I think it fits a perfect niche for what he's trying to do, or at least what he's capable of doing. Maybe not what he's trying to do, depending on what your deck is. But you have to admit, it's like right up his design alley. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So anyway, that was my take from, not my single take, but this was something I was really impressed with spoiler season. I'm also really impressed with the new Dorinthea card. I think that's going to be a very interesting end-game play. Maybe you run 2 of those. Depends what card you're going to take out for it. Maybe Precision Press. Maybe an Iron Song response. Maybe. I think maybe, because you're probably not playing that. And actually, maybe that's the play. Anyway, we're going down the rat hole on that one. So anyway, folks, for my Riptide folks out there, I know I have a lot of passionate Riptide folks who are not nourishing Riptide folks, and cheers to you for that. So let me know what you're thinking. What are you swapping out this for? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Let me know below. Nothing else, folks. Go Commando.